Louise and London Charing Cross.
Perspective now. So what I want you to do is that when you see a building, just don't tell me I like it, or I don't like it. Because if you say to me I like it, I don't like it, there's nothing we can say in return. Like it's discussion. You like it? No. You don't like it? So what? What you do is that you need to say to me, I like it because, right? And this because, if it's possible, it should really come from your Feng Shui. And I would try to do the same. I would say to you, look, this building, I think it has a problem because things are out of balance. It's too yin, it's too yang, it's too tall, right? And the main thing about Feng Shui is that we should build, right, in context of the environment. Chinese use the term "jiren." Jiren means being itself, right? And Chinese will talk about ten and Ke Yi, heaven and earth are together. So what it is that we are part of nature, and nature is part of us. So what we're really doing is that the environment we're looking at, right, is part of us, right? And we are part of the environment. So your judgment or your criticism should be based on these Feng Shui concepts. We're supposed to have defended England during the war, right? They put it here now in this area. When someone do this, what do you think would be the consequence? People decided that they would have a museum. I mean, the river is huge, right? They could have put anywhere along the river, but they decided to put it here, right, in the Gherkin here. What would be the consequences in terms of perception, how you perceive it?
And attackers would want to come up the Thames. This is before the Palace of Westminster. This is saying, just do not mess with us here.
Yeah, right. I see. You know, message. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say to you is that whenever you put an object somewhere, right, you think it's just something very casual, but you got to remember that when you place something, when you organize something, right, everything you do has a consequences, right? It's an object in here, right, creates a memory, creates a presence in your mind, right? And your mind, right, will also connect these things with all sorts of different things. And it brings out, right, your memory, your fears, or your longings, your worries, immediately, Because when I come in here, I look at the battleship and I say, oh, a battleship, in the middle of the city, what does it mean? I said, it needs to be, someone needs to be defended, There's a war going on, right? Immediately, I think in terms of these things. I then look around. Oh, it's such a lovely day. It's a beautiful city. Why do we have a battleship here? So the question I put as a question is why. So so you find that as you walking along here, right? There's a lot of things that disturbs you. Really disturbs you. Now you kind of think, about why, how did people do this, and then this disturbance, right, needs some kind of release. So when you actually come to another spot and you see a little bit of, openness, a little bit of quietness, you get this contrast, right? And really, that's how a city works. A city works with contrast. The more dynamic a city is, the more contrast it says. But you have to be very careful. Some place, the contrast is so great that you feel irritated, right? Other places, the contrast is just enough you feel you come alive. Right? So there are contrast and contrast, right? And this is where the art part comes into it, right? In Feng Shui, right? Try to stay, right, more or less in a balanced state. But where the balance become unbalanced, right, is an art. And how do you judge that, right? You judge that with the context and with the people. That's your reference. Is there any?
No, it's a glass testicle.
It's not.
What?
No, it's
a
true.
glass
It's true.
testicle?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
it's
it is
true.
true.
It is
They
true.
call
what?
it
on-
the testicle.
It's called a glass testicle. You search
There's
it
glass
online
testicle?
now. Yes, Ken Livingston gave it that name. I knew you'd like that. It's true. I'm not making
know
it
that.
up.
Are you sure? And,
100%. Yes, I'm sure.
How it is on.
Okay,
It's,
the
all,
glass testicle.
it's all over the web. The glass testicle.
Yeah,
It's just polite.
yeah,
People
no,
don't
it's
talk
true.
about it. It's true. It's called a glass testicle.
Do you know all the research I did on this building? I never came across it described as that.
Okay, so
We are not making it up. Seriously.
okay.
I will find it for you if you come.
Pornographic
Well,
names
look,
for
look.
this
In that
building.
case, why don't we go through exercise? If you look at this building and someone asks you to give you a nickname to this building, right? What would you say? I mean, apart from glass.
No, it's got another nickname. It's also called the onion.
Yeah.
Ah,
yes,
the
yes,
onion.
Because I'm peeling
Okay, onion. Okay, all right. Well, okay, I can understand the onion. Okay, all right. But I like glass testicle better.
Yeah, and you have, the same architect did the glass testicle and the Gherkin. So
Ah,
there's something
okay, okay, all right, okay. So everybody orientates the same.
They sit in a semicircle.
Is that means the British are really
Each
preoccupied by
individual
food?
will have a slightly different facing.
Unless you testicle on the own.
Okay. Do you have a nickname for this?
Helmet.
Actually, I found it difficult to give a nickname because, it's a shape that actually difficult to associate with anything particular. I mean, onion, potato.
Bike helmet, maybe?
What?
Yeah.
A helmet?
A helmet, a motorbike helmet. Okay,
Darth
yeah.
Vader.
A motorbike helmet, yeah, that's, okay.
Or like some kind of, like a snail shell. Snail shell.
Okay.
Mollusk or something.
Now, what is interesting was that all these images that you're given, right? An onion, a helmet, a glass testicle, right? They are actually an image on its own. It's an image on its own, standing on its own, right? So now that gives an interesting observation, because if you look at this building here, it's actually existed in isolation on its own, right? It's not really connected to any other building nearby. You had all these buildings standing by here. They're almost like paying homage. This one in the middle, sitting in the middle there. Especially this one here, it's like you're wrapping around the building, So it's a building sitting on its own, right? So when you're sitting on its own, right, the images that gives us, right, is a building that has a certain isolation, Then you ask yourself, is that an appropriate image for a council? Is a council supposed to serve the people, or is it supposed to be isolated from the people? That's a question that also interesting one to ask. Because it's supposed to be a council building.
Howard, can I
Okay.
just point out, it's the London Assembly, and the difference between the London Assembly and the council is London's organised local boroughs who serve the people. The Assembly does London overall, and I think the circular is appropriate for the Assembly because they hold the mayor to account.
Oh, so it's
The
not
actual-
so it's not an administration building.
no, it's an assembly. It's for the assembly. So
Oh,
if-
okay, that's
if
different.
you could have gone inside, you could have seen the
Okay,
chamber and
okay.
the mayor and the advisors sit on a table, and the others sit around him, and it's not party. It's not supposed to be parties. It's supposed to be everyone sitting around the mayor, holding him to account.
Okay. So where
that's the function is different.
so where this person sits in terms of the direction?
He's facing south.
Yeah, the assembly. When
Can I have
yes,
a?
he is facing south because the seats.
Sorry. This situation here, you have the river, right? You have the bridge, right? Now, then you have the building in here, something like that. The building in here, something like that. Okay. So where would this orientation of the building be? Can you point it
I
out?
think I've measured. Facing is over there. It's where the door is.
That's north one there. Okay, that's north one that direction.
This is not one.
Yeah, it's north one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
the back. The mayor's here is the back.
Yeah, he sits
Just safety.
up there.
According to the Friar Star chart, when the time was built, right, it has a money issue, but it went for a couple of years, right, and then it becomes prosperous. You don't want to talk to me anymore, do you? Okay, let's go. Okay. What I want you to do now is to pay attention, looking at this part of the building, and also then look across and look at that part of it, right? And try to contrast the two. The first contrast, obviously, you can see, right, this building here. This building is built out of stone, right? So it has a very different feeling to when you look across the side here, where everything's built out of concrete and glass. Right? So the first thing that you would notice, right, in the evolution of building technology and building material, right, we end up building most of the modern buildings in glass and concrete, right? Where traditional building material is brick, stone, right? And you get a different feeling just looking at the material itself compared to each other, right? That is Feng Shui, we say this is more earth material because you've got to do with stone material, and this glass is more metal, right? So metal have a expression, correlation to reflecting, to cutting, to penetrating. Money also, where stone has to do with more stability, more things from the earth growing, right? And so you get a feeling that when you're looking at the building, right, it has a sense of stability. Right? Looking at the building like that, you get a sense of vibrance. Being cut, being reflected, much more jumpy in terms of the feeling straight away. Whereas in the old days, it's very slow, very stable, concerned with survival and growth and so on like that. And it's reflected just looking at that. And the massing of the building is also different. Right? Here, you get a sense of things building up, right, to a point. Right? So there's a sort of broad base, and then it goes up, and it goes to a point in here. And in the middle of it, you have the important building. So there's a hierarchy, a very clear hierarchy of something in the middle, and then you've got the support structure around the building. It's very stable, very hierarchical, a very clear in terms of the classification. In here, everything jumbles up. You have things kind of competing with each other all the time, and they don't really talk to each other. They're kind of yelling at each other, right? and they can, all sorts of things they say to you across here, right? So that actually is. So what can you say about this? When you actually look around, the Shah now becomes the most prominent building in London. And it's really basically a building. Do people have a nickname for this?
I think it's still called the Shah. That's its official name.
Is that the Shah or the Shah?
The Shard. It's called, because it's like a shard of glass. And there's, do you like it?
No, but I think it's a Shah. From a Feng Shui point of view, it's a Shah. It's a Shah. Because what is that? Chinese say, Feng Shui say, it's a stand on its own. There's no building around it can be related to, right? And it's very pointed, right? Yeah. So the thing is that it's pointed to heaven.
Right, but it's not pointing. I'm going to say I disagree slightly because I have some local knowledge as well. The area that it's built in is a very deprived borough of London. It's very poor, and all the buildings around it are very earth. There's not many tall buildings. I think for the local area, I think it will help stimulate it because there's the fire feeding the earth. But
It could be, but the thing is that you will find if that is the case, in the future, very near future, there will be other buildings that will be as tall as this, and that will reduce the fire because when the fire feeds the earth, it weakens the fire, right? So in the future, I wouldn't imagine that there will be other buildings coming up next to the Shah, and there will be another group of commercial buildings around it that compete with this side. So
that area south of the river is a total redevelopment area. And if you walk there, you see a lot of new buildings. In fact, the Shah is just one of the many.
Okay,
and
that's happening already. Okay,
there is one building
happening
called
already.
the ground scraper.
Okay,
Instead of going up, it just occupies an enormous building. It's the largest building in London, even larger than the
one at Vauxhall?
Google area.
Is that the one you're talking about, Vauxhall?
No,
to
just
say
there,
something.
just here, the ground scraper.
Oh, the ground, okay.
It's also, the Shard is sort of like coming out straight from the railway station, London Bridge. So how do you think the water element that is going sort of like
well,
You're talking millions.
okay, the water element, if they keep it there, right, it will keep the situation stable. If they destroy the water element, that will make it worse. That's really what it is. Because you need the elemental relationships to make something continue grow, continue develop. If you destroy one of the elements, that means it be out of balance. So I hope it doesn't happen that way, but you never know.
probably not? Probably not. It's an important station. Yeah.
I hope not, because the station, all the transportation is the water.
Yeah.
Right, the water gives a balance to the earth and the fire relationship. All right, no, any questions? So we in a way we can again using Feng Shui terms, using traditional elemental relationships, we can kind of put them in a certain pattern of comparison. Right? Now, not to say that it would definitely happen that way, but it would give us an understanding of what's going on. And this is really what the difference between correlative thinking and rational thinking. We're not doing a financial, structural, or political analysis. What we do is that we're using correlative thinking. Right? We correlate things to the elements, and then we look at their relationship, so we get a broader picture. But this picture it's a kind of fey picture, it's like a reflection of the moon in the water, rather than we fly to the moon and study the mineral component of the moon. That's two different, and that's how different between Chinese medicine and Western. Look at these two things in here right now. This is really stand on its own. It shows the modern man's egotism. We like to be on our own. Whereas in the old days, right, there's a certain hierarchy. Hierarchy surrounding it. Yes, and I'm here. So I glass testicles.
I came and looked at this in 2002.
That one, not this one. But actually, it brings energy.
But they didn't. They didn't always have this.
It's been here since the beginning.
Has it? Okay.
It's always tied to that.
Oh, okay. Maybe because I came here just after it was built and I didn't notice. But it could have been. They were still.
Yeah. So what it does, what this so-called energy does, is to connect one point with the other, right? We because you're mindful of the way the water flows, right? Because your eyes always follow, and you can see very clearly the water flows in that direction. So what you do is that you associate with the direction of flow with things moving from there to there. But this energy that we're talking about is actually a correlative energy. Right? It's not something that actually hurts you or harms you or like that. It's a sense of connection. We're talking about energy. We're talking about connection. Right? And also the placement of the water. It's interesting. The architect has placed the water more or less in the middle of this walkway. What would you think if he plays it more on this side, or he plays it on this side? Rather is that, you know, you can put the water anywhere along here, right? But if you put it on one side, right, you have more yin-yang difference. You put it in the middle, the yin-yang becomes very even. And put it on the other side, you have more yin-yang difference, right? So they changed the way people will use this place. At the moment, it's in the middle, right? So you have the people walk on both sides of it, right? But when you actually put on one side of it, the water will actually become more, stands out more. It will actually be a stronger dragon because that will be yin-yang difference. You know, how you will look at this side because the water's on that side. You know, because every time you look side, you look on this side. You're walking on that side, you're looking on that side. You know? So, you know, this is a more static solution, but you can have an even more dynamic solution by thinking about how far you want to put the water.
I find it's really interesting that
It's not long for London, an hour.
Well, I get from the airport to Victoria less than
On the train.
on the train.
Well,